Big Bend National Park. Established in 1944, the park is larger than the state of Rhode Island and home to thousands of species of plants and wildlife. But Big Bend holds a history long before its establishment. El Despoblado, or the wilderness. This beautiful land retains its everlasting beauty despite years of overuse and exploitation. What could have plagued this land? Big Bend National Park is the definition of cattle country. Since the 1800s, cowboys residing in the area have raised herds of cattle on the once fertile and grass-covered land. But the industry spread like wildfire, and soon ranchers flocked to this little piece of the Chihuahuan Desert. The biggest cattle ranch, Block G4, started with a herd of 6,000 cattle. Less than 10 years later, in 1891, the ranch's numbers skyrocketed to 30,000 cattle. The excess of cattle by all ranchers in the area caused intense overgrazing, causing loss of topsoil and in turn loss of grazing grasses. Demands on water supply led to drought, and many plant species died out, leaving behind a barren, grassless landscape. But cattle grazing wasn't the only moneymaker in the land. Victor Ochoa once told a parable of a miner who died and went to heaven. The miner knocked on the pearly gates and was refused admission when St. Peter learned what his occupation had been on earth. "No more miners get into heaven," said St. Peter. "There are a lot of them up here now, and they are digging up the heavenly streets because they heard they were paved with gold." Sparked by the gold rush, miners turned their eye to this geologic jackpot of a park. Prospecting began in 1880, and soon mercury and silver ore were being raised from the ground. Mine shafts scattered the land around mining towns such as Terlingua, Texas. Miners had to use a smelter to remove the minerals from the tough volcanic rocks of the area. The process required vast amounts of timber for smelting fires and water for cooling the smelt rock. In a time when automobiles were yet to be invented, the supplies had to be pulled from the land around them. So forests which once existed were wiped out, leaving behind one of the most arid and bare deserts of the park. The effects of our activities can always be easily seen. Big Bend suffered from rising mercury levels in the ecosystem. Drought and overuse wiped out the topsoil, leaving a barren desert, and air pollution from neighboring Mexican cities clouded the skies. But in 1944, the park was officially recognized as a national park, gaining protection and attention from the people. Environmental awareness rose, and the public began to notice the effects we can have on what seems to be such a tough piece of Texas. Today, Big Bend National Park is one of the top 10 most endangered national parks in the United States. Efforts are now being made to better preserve the park, and although there is damage done, it is but a scratch on the tough skin of Mother Nature. Big Bend National Park remains strong and beautiful, attracting more and more visitors every year traveling across the country to view the enchanting desert. The last frontier, instilling a sense of isolation and freedom in the spirit of all who witness its sprawling horizons and jutting mountains.